Welcome to the Morning Download Podcast, your go-to resource for personal finance, economics, and market insights. In just 8 minutes a day, we provide valuable information to help you make better money decisions. Don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter at https://w.morningdownload.com. Subscribe. Let's dive right in. In today's episode, we'll cover the SEC's Bitcoin ETF decision, mixed market performance with stocks reaching new highs, the global economy's worst half-decade of growth in 30 years, stock updates from Nvidia, Boeing, Alibaba, HPE, and Duolingo, the high cost of pet ownership, and Martin Whitman's acknowledgement of the difficulty of making accurate predictions and forecasts.
So, according to the World Bank, it seems like the global economy is going through a tough time. In fact, it's on track to record its worst half-decade of growth in 30 years. That's not the kind of news we want to hear. The numbers are telling us that global growth is expected to slow down even further in 2024, reaching just 43%. This is the third year in a row that we'll see a decline in growth. It's not until 2025 that things are expected to improve a bit, with growth projected to reach 7%. But even then, it's still below the levels we saw before the COVID-19 pandemic. Unfortunately, developing economies are going to be hit the hardest. Slow global trade and tight financial conditions are weighing heavily on their growth. The political situation doesn't help either, as it's expected to reduce exports and tourism. In fact, developing economies are now expected to grow by just 9% in 2024, which is more than 1 percentage point below the average of the previous decade. It's not just the economy that's taking a hit. Poverty is expected to rise as well. About 25% of developing countries and around 40% of low-income countries are expected to be poorer than they were before the pandemic. That's a concerning statistic. On top of all that, we've got some other global hits to deal with. Microsoft's big investment in OpenAI might face an EU merger probe, and Samsung is warning that its fourth quarter profit could see a massive 35% plunge. However, it's not all bad news. Japan's Nikkei hit a 33-year high as Asia markets rebounded. Oh, and nature hasn't been too kind either. We're talking record thunderstorm losses and deadly earthquakes causing a whopping $250 billion in damages in 2023. Mother Nature can be quite powerful. Yesterday, Nvidia had another impressive day in the market. It climbed 7% and hit a new all-time high of $543.25 during trading. However, by the time the market closed, it settled at $531.40. Still, it's definitely something worth celebrating for Nvidia. In contrast, Boeing met its goal of delivering jets for 2023 in what can only be described as a blockbuster sales year. But let's not forget that the stock has been struggling lately. Ever since the infamous door incident, it has been in the red, experiencing a loss of over 12%. So while Boeing had some good news on the delivery front, it still has some challenges to tackle. Now, let's move on to the Chinese company Alibaba. Unfortunately, it's been going through a rough patch. It's currently trading close to its 52-week low at $72.88, with the low point being $70.96. Some believe that Alibaba is a good buy, but caution that it might have more losses before it starts to climb again. They have acknowledged making a mistake that caused the incident, so it remains to be seen how they'll recover. And there's more news in the tech world. HPE, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, plans to acquire Juniper Networks for a whopping $14 billion. Meanwhile, language learning app Duolingo has made some changes. They've decided to cut 10% of their contractor workforce and replace them with artificial intelligence, AI technology. So, we talked about the one-time costs of buying a pet, but now let's dive into the yearly expenses. First up, we have food. Depending on the size of your furry friend and the brand of food you choose, you can expect to spend anywhere from $120 to $1,000 per year. On average, dog owners with big dogs in the US spend around $446 annually on food. Now, let's not forget about treats and toys. We all love spoiling our pets, right? Well, that luxury comes with a price. You can expect to shell out around $20 to $100 per year on treats and toys to keep your pet entertained and happy. Then there's pet insurance. While it can save you some money in the long run, it does come at a cost. For cats, you're looking at up to $360 per year, and for dogs, the price can go as high as $1,000. The actual amount may vary based on factors like your pet's health, age, and where you live. And of course, there are medical expenses. Routine visits to the vet, dental care, and vaccines all add up. While insurance may cover some of these costs, it won't cover major surgeries. So keep that in mind when budgeting for your pet's healthcare needs. When you take all of these expenses into account, it can cost anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 per year to own a pet. And according to a report, the average lifetime cost of owning a dog is a staggering $28,801. In some states, it even exceeds $30,000. However, keep in mind that these costs tend to be lower in developing countries. So, what should you do? Well, it's important to assess your financial situation and see if owning a pet fits within your budget. Many pets end up being given up because their owners can't afford to take care of them. To avoid that situation, create a pet budget and stick to it. It may be expensive, but the joy and companionship a pet brings can be priceless. So, I came across this interesting quote today and thought I'd share it with you. It goes like this: "We ignore outlooks and forecasts. We're lousy at it and we admit it. Everyone else is lousy too, but most people won't admit it." This quote is by Martin Whitman, a notable figure in the investment world. Now, I really resonate with this quote because let's face it, predicting the future is just plain hard. We all like to think we can see what's coming, but the truth is, most of us aren't very good at it. And you know what? That's okay, because it turns out most people are in the same boat. It's fascinating how we often put so much weight on predictions and forecasts. We rely on them to make important decisions in our lives, whether it's about investments, careers, or even something as simple as the weather. But the reality is, these forecasts are often just best guesses, and they can be way off the mark. So maybe it's time we take a step back and admit that we're not great at predicting the future. Maybe, instead of obsessing over forecasts, we focus on adapting and being agile in the face of uncertainty. After all, life is full of surprises, and sometimes the best way to navigate through them is with an open mind and a willingness to embrace the unknown. So, next time you catch yourself stressing over what might happen, remember Martin Whitman's words and take a deep breath. We're all lousy at predicting the future, but as long as we're willing to learn and adapt, we'll be just fine.
In today's episode, we discussed the SEC's Bitcoin ETF decision, the global economy facing its worst half-decade of growth in 30 years, stock market updates, the costs of owning a pet, and the challenges of making accurate predictions. Thanks for tuning into the Morning Download, your go-to podcast for personal finance, economics, and market insights in just 8 minutes a day. Don't forget to subscribe for more helpful content and sign up for our free newsletter at morningdownload.com/subscribe.